Buckle up, everyone. You are strapped in and ready for Insurance Hour with me, your host, Karl Susman. Informing, educating, and entertaining, one policy at a time. This is Insurance Hour. Hello. This is Insurance Hour. I am your host, Karl Susman. Thank you so much for being here today. Our continued coverage of the California wildfires begins right now. Now, as you're aware, we are in the bunker. We are not in the studio right now, so you'll excuse a little bit of the production value might not be what we're used to, but we are doing everything we can to be sure we're as close to everything as we can be. Phone lines are closed. However, please do still call or text in your questions. We want to get to them as soon as we can. That number is 559-656-0317. Call or text, and send your questions in to questions@insurancehour.com. Having said that, today what we are going to be focusing on is something that is so sad that we even have to discuss, let alone have an entire show dedicated to. Today we're going to be talking about common scams and fraud that wildfire victims need to be on their toes and look out for. Now, even if you're not a wildfire victim, don't think for a moment that you're completely safe from these fraudsters and these scammers that are out there. These are going to be some absolutely good tips to keep in mind for everybody. Now, it's horrible to think that this is going on to begin with. To think that the level of fraud that's been going on has been increasing and that people in the wildfire areas have been specifically targeted is just appalling. As a matter of fact, the Department of Insurance in California has a specific task force they have set out to try and catch these fraudsters. They're asking people to please report any type of fraud or scams that you are encountering. Just for reference, you could always go to insurance.ca.gov and report any type of activity like that. Let me tell you, they are eager to go after those bad actors. On that, let's start in with a couple of the more common scams that we're seeing. I can't believe I even have to say that it is this widespread that there are common scams we're seeing and not. And just for some perspective, these are things that I have personally been told by clients they are encountering. Now, the first thing is people might be contacting you claiming to be with different government agencies offering assistance. Now, a good rule of thumb for everyone is government agencies don't proactively reach out to you and throw money at you. Not saying that there aren't some organizations that will offer you money, but they don't have your cell phone. They don't know specifically that now is a good time to reach out to you. You're going to need money. If you're getting unsolicited reach outs with people offering you money, you should immediately stop and pause and investigate further to be sure that it's correct. People are receiving phone calls, text messages, and of course emails as always, from people that are trying to pretend that they work for the government and they are offering you money. What happens from there is one of two things. Either they'll begin to gather information from you, in which case they will turn around, utilize all of that personal information that you've just given them, and they will perform identity fraud. They will go start opening up accounts. And it's even worse than that because think about it. If you're in an area that's recently been affected by a wildfire, you're not getting your mail there. So the credit card companies are not going to be surprised when somebody calls pretending to be you. Don't forget now you've given this person all of your personal information, so it's easy to pretend to be you. And they say, hey, I'm opening up a credit card, but don't use the address you have on file because I'm a wildfire victim, so here, use this other address. So the amount of fraud that we're seeing and the amount of con artists that are out there trying to get your information to be able to do this is truly unprecedented. Now, if they're not if they're not simply stealing your identity, then they might be taking a step further. They might say, well, in order for us to submit this application for assistance, there's an application fee, and they'll ask for money. Or they'll say, if you'd like us, we can put you at the head of the line. There's an expediting fee. There's no such thing. When you're going to be applying for aid from the federal government, or the state for that matter, there is not going to be a bribery fee that you can pay to try and get yourself to skip the line. It doesn't work that way. So if someone is asking you for money in order to help you apply for something, again, that should give you pause. That should make you stop and say to yourself, okay, I need to investigate this. What I've been telling some of our clients is if you're getting something that seems suspicious, wow, say that 10 times fast. if you're getting something that seems suspicious, then send it to us. Send it to a third party. Let them investigate it for you. Because if somebody forwards me an email, and clients have been doing this, I have a more secure method of being able to validate that email. I can find out if it's something that I've seen from 20 other people and it turns out that it's a scam. I can also check backwards to see if the domain is registered correctly, if it's a brand new domain. There are certain things that I know just because I guess I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to these things. And I'm able to go in and do a little bit of help, a little bit of research to help people before they start clicking on links and applying for things, okay? So beware of any type of unsolicited reach out. That's a really, really big one. Another type of fraud that we're seeing are people pretending to be contractors. Now, if you're in any of the areas that have been affected by the wildfires, as you can imagine, there are thousands of homes and businesses that have been impacted that are going to need to be rebuilt. When you're talking about thousands of work that has to be done, thousands of structures that have to be rebuilt, there's definitely going to be a shortage of labor, of manpower, of supplies, of the talent to go about drawing the plans and doing things to try and get the permits pulled. All of these things, the entire line from beginning to end is going to be backed up and in very high demand. What I have heard is happening, people will reach out, and I say purporting to be contractors because I'm going to go under the auspice that a true licensed contractor would not do this. And they're saying, okay, sign this contract. There's no dollars amount in it yet because we don't know what it's going to cost to rebuild, but this contract will guarantee that, you and I will work together. Already a red flag. And by the way, I've got a lot of clients. I'm really busy. So if you want to give me a deposit now, I can use that deposit. Of course, it'll go toward your structure and your building costs later, but the larger deposit you give me now, the further up my workload I'm willing to put you. Wow. If I hadn't heard it with my own ears, I would have a hard time believing it. This is what you are being bombarded with. This is something that's out there now. This is something I have heard from multiple clients in the Palisades Fire area. They are getting calls on this. I don't know the specific legalities of it. I'm going to go under the assumption that it's probably not ethical for sure. Illegal, I'm not 100% sure as well. I'm not an attorney. But I would tell you that someone that's asking you to sign a blank check to work with them without a bid, and they're telling you straight out, you can bribe me to work with you faster for more money, probably not the person you want to be doing business with. Let's take our first quick break, and when we're back, we'll talk about this some more. This is Insurance Hour, and I am Karl Susman. Stand by. Let's talk about earthquakes for a minute. Look, we know we live in earthquake country here in California. Powerful, devastating earthquakes have happened here before, and science says that they will happen again. They can't tell us exactly when, they can just tell us that it is going to happen. Count on it. Prepare for it. Did you know that earthquakes are not covered by your homeowner's insurance policy? You need a separate policy to give you the peace of mind that you will be able to recover without getting financially wiped out the next time we get hit with a big one. There's a great company here in California that will provide you with earthquake coverage you need at a price you can afford. That company is GeoVera. I have a policy through GeoVera. I really like how easy it is to choose from all of their great coverage options, backed by the financial strength that lets me know that they will be here for me when I need them the most. Go to getquake.com/insurance hour to learn more. That's getquake.com/insurance hour. Make sure you're ready for the day when the ground shakes again. Hello. This is Insurance Hour. I am your host, Karl Susman. Thank you so much for being here with me today. We are continuing our special coverage regarding the California wildfires. You actually just heard an advertisement from a company called GeoVera. This is an earthquake insurance company, and I know that's not the first thing on your mind right now because we're talking about fire insurance, but let me just tell you something about GeoVera. As you can imagine, after the California wildfires, they are in a situation where people no longer have their homes. Therefore, they don't need an earthquake insurance policy right now. Some insurance companies might say, all right, send us something, we'll cancel it. No, they'll cancel it, we'll get around to it, or we're going to keep a certain amount, or maybe it's paid in full, you're sort of out that money. GeoVera is doing the right thing. They're letting people cancel their policy effective when the home fire began. Basically, they're saying, look, we know back on whatever the date, January 7th, January 8th, you no longer had a home. And even though it's taken you a month or two to get to us to let us know, we're going to cancel the policy for you at your request, and we're going to give you all of the money back that you haven't used starting at that date going forward. That's a first-class move, and that's not what I'm seeing from absolutely every carrier out there. So GeoVera Earthquake, again, I want to thank them for sponsoring this show today, and also let you know that if you are looking to get a proposal for earthquake insurance, definitely check them out. That's where I have my personal earthquake insurance. You can go to our website at insurancehour.com. You'll be able to see a big link right there for GeoVera. You can get an earthquake insurance quote in about 10 seconds. No people involved. We thank them for their support. Now, we're talking today about scams and fraud that we're seeing surrounding the California wildfires. We talked about a couple of them on the first segment. Now, the next one I want to talk about is probably more timely. We're starting to hear about cleanup. It's hard to imagine that it's taken 3 weeks to get to a place where they're actually starting to talk about cleanup. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, you name it. It's still in that infancy stage. Now, you might start hearing from people coming out of the woodwork saying, I represent a cleaning crew and we're willing to come out and clean up and do remediation on your property. Now, we're talking more along the lines of people that have had damage to their home versus people that can no longer, there is no home left. Okay. Now, understand that when you have smoke damage is not just you walk in and it smells a little like smoke. No. We're talking about smoke damage and air damage, really, to the extent that you had thousands of homes burning and all of the chemicals and things that were inside of those homes. You had shopping centers burn, pharmacies burn, markets burn. Think of all of the chemicals that are in all of those places being carried in the air, in the ash, in the smoke, and swept into your house. Now, you might not have lost your home to the fire, meaning your home may be standing, but there's a lot of work that's going to need to be done before it's actually safe for you to go back into your home. So, enter the scamsters. We're going to get out there right away and we're going to get your home cleaned up. Now, it's a great idea to try and have your home habitable as soon as possible. No question about that. But again, be careful, because if it's from a company you've never heard of before, if they're reaching out to you, if they're demanding money up front, if they're giving you what seems to be unrealistic expectations, maybe they're saying, we can get this done in a day. Well, if you have smoke damage to the extent that I'm talking about, that's not going to be fixed in a day. Make sure you're asking the right questions. Ask them, say, how long have you been in business? Are you on the Better Business Bureau site? Are you licensed? Are you insured? Ask them some questions. One thing that I find with people that are committing fraud like this, the more questions you ask, the less eager they are to work with you. And the minute you ask a question and they say, okay, you know what? We don't have time for this. We've got so many people. We're just going to move on to the next person. You can thank your lucky stars because you just dodged a bullet. All right. A true company, a good company that's going to want to do business with you is not going to have a problem providing you with some very basic information, such as, are you licensed and insured? Everybody needs to be licensed and insured to do this type of work. That's not out of the ordinary. So again, if you're not sure, a little bit of pushback with some questioning can definitely help. Now, this one is heartbreaking. Well, they're all heartbreaking. I have had clients that have reached out and said that they are being solicited for charity organizations. Now, stop for a second and you're saying, well, wait a minute. They're the ones that just lost their home. Why are they contacting them to give money to the wildfire victims? Well, scamsters don't always have the best lists, right? So they're casting a wide net. They're reaching out to everybody and they're saying, hey, give us some money. We're going to take it directly to the victims of the wildfire. And people are good. They have a big heart. So they're opening up their wallets and they're giving credit card information, checking account information. They're giving money to these fraudsters who, as you can imagine, you see where this is going. Number one, they're not a charity. Number two, they're not giving the money to anybody. Number three, they're taking your money and running away and saying, oh, thank you, thank you. When's the last time you actually followed up after giving a donation to a charity to see if it actually got used, how it got used? Did it actually go to the charity? I know that, for example, there are some notable large charity organizations that we tend to trust. Let's just use the American Red Cross, for example. It's a big organization. It's an international organization. If someone is contacting you and they're asking you to give money to the American Red Cross, for example, and they're not giving you an American Red Cross website, big pause, big stop, because something's not right. Same thing for most large charitable organizations. You don't want to say, okay, yes, I'd love to give money to the wildfire victims. And they say, okay, give us your credit card and we'll do it. Whoa, what's the name of the charity? Oh, we're called the Victims of Wildfire in Los Angeles 2025.com organization. I'm being facetious, but you get what I'm saying. Look for the reputable organizations. Look out for the organizations that claim to be micro charities. We're going to get that money to the people that need it right now, right now, right now. Why haven't you heard of us? Well, we're brand new. We just started now giving, we formed right now in response to this disaster. Your money's going to go right to them. Okay, you're filed with the proper licensing bureaus, obviously, right, as a charitable organization. Hello? Again, ask a few questions, especially if it's an organization that you've never heard of and they're looking to get your money. Ask about a receipt. Are you going to be providing me with a receipt for tax deduction purposes? That's not a bad thing to ask. That's a fair question. Those receipts are going to have a federal tax ID number on there that charities need to provide with a receipt for you. These are things you can ask to try and be sure that your hard-earned money and the good thing that you're trying to do is actually going to go somewhere other than some scammer's wallet. Now, it's horrible, but I have to just keep reminding you, this is happening to everybody everywhere, not just people in the wildfire areas. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some more scams that I'm hearing about to be sure that you can stay protected. This is Insurance Hour. I'm Karl Susman. Give us 60 seconds and we'll be right back at you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in just a few moments, the Window to the Magic podcast show will begin.
My name is Patrick.
My name is Calvin.
I'm Mouseketeer Gray.
My name is Paul, and I will be your guide through the wonderful world of Disney sound experiences.
This show is a weekly trip into the world of the Disney theme parks and resorts.
And this is the place where you get to use your ears to surround yourself with the magic.
For your safety, please remain seated while listening to the windowtothemagic.com podcast.
Maybe there's a name for this, something like Disnotic Obsession. Please visit windowtothemagic.com for more information, or you can find us on Apple Podcasts and in the iHeartMedia app.
Hello. This is Insurance Hour. I am your host, Karl Susman. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Our continued coverage on the California wildfires continues right now. The phone lines are not currently open, but I do want you to still call, text, and email in your questions. We will get to them at a show later. That phone number, of course, 559-656-0317. Call or text. And you can send your questions in by email to questions@insurancehour.com. Now, we're talking today, sadly, about scams and fraud to look out for that surround the California wildfire. People that are trying to do the right thing, getting taken advantage of by people when they're in a really vulnerable position. Now, I already talked about people reaching out to you and how that should automatically be a red flag. Now, the extent that this is happening, you're going to have people that are setting up phony 800 numbers. They're setting up phony websites. Don't assume that just because you see a website that it's a legitimate business. That website could have been set up in a matter of minutes, and I'm not exaggerating. You can buy a website domain. A domain is just the name of the website, right? It's usually something.com. That's what we're used to seeing. You can buy one, you can set it up, and have it online, and people finding you literally, and I'm not exaggerating, in less than an hour. Less than half an hour, truly. And I'm saying half an hour to an hour because it does take some time to propagate around the internet. You don't want me to get into the technical stuff, but understand that a web page does not mean that it is a legitimate business, nor does a phone number mean that it's a legitimate business. Don't get taken advantage of, okay? Now, we have to talk about something else that's, we've been seeing this since day one. After this level of disaster, there is a massive crunch for places for people to live, right? If there's 6,000 homes that are no longer standing, that's 6,000 households that have to find somewhere else to live. Now, unfortunately, instead of just being happy and being able to fill vacancies, what we're finding is some landlords and some relatively unsavory individuals are price gouging. And I'm not saying they're charging a little bit more than they would have, because why not? It's fair, it's business. No. I'm talking about something that's 3, 4, 5, 600% higher than it was a week before the fires. That's price gouging. There's actually laws in California. There's a penal code, I think it's Penal Code 396, don't quote me on that, but you can double check. And it specifically states that once a disaster has been declared by the governor, housing can only charge 10% above what they were looking to collect for that space prior to the disaster. 10%, not 600%, 10%. Now, the problem with this, of course, is if you have lost your home and you're trying to find somewhere to move your family, what are you going to do? Go to the landlord who wants to charge this high rate and say, well, excuse me, sir, you can't do that. That's against the law. I mean, I suppose you could. The likelihood of you getting that space is probably not very good at that point. That's the problem. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So unfortunately, a lot of people were just taking what they could get. I am also hearing stories about people that are being told, you have to sign a 2-year lease and pay me up front for the first year. And they're saying that because, well, they figure people are coming from an affluent area, or the insurance policy will just pay. And they're doing these things that, again, it's not ethical for sure. And we had someone on the show a few weeks ago that was talking about the real estate laws and the ramifications of doing this sort of thing. And I'll paraphrase, you're not supposed to be doing this. Not only is the Department of Insurance having a task force out there right now to try and nail these people for this price gouging, the California Department of Real Estate is also out there, and they are going after aggressively people that are participating in this type of price gouging. Now, real estate professionals are somewhat stuck in the middle. If they have a client and the client says, this is what I want you to list it for, the realtor has to make a choice. Well, I can listen to my client even though I know what he's doing or she's doing is wrong, and it might impact my license. It's a really tough place to be. And mind you, who suffers the most? The people that desperately need the housing. They're the ones stuck in the middle. But try and imagine if something was costing, let's say, $5,000 to rent a particular house, and that was January 2nd. Now the fires have occurred. There's a major shortage of housing. And now that house that was going for $5,000, they're now asking $25,000, $30,000. We see this, $40,000. Yes, a month. This is happening in spades. I've been on calls with the Department of Insurance. I've talked to many heads of insurance carriers, obviously our own clients as well, claims adjusters alike. This is so prevalent, it would make your head spin. What's going to end up happening? Well, some people signed leases. The insurance companies are going to start paying for those leases. And guess what? People are going to be eating through that part of their policy that's paying for their expenses to be moved out. It's going to get eaten up a lot faster. I'm hoping, it's always hard for me to make these blanket statements because every situation could be a little bit different. But for the most part, I'm hoping that if somebody did sign a lease in duress, truly because they had nothing to their name but the clothes on their back and their kids in the back seat of the car, and they were looking for a house, possibly if they ended up signing a lease that was for something outrageous like I'm describing now, there might be some form of legal ramification to protect them, because you might just be saying, oh, whatever, let the insurance company pay. The problem with that is, first of all, as we all know, if an insurance company has to pay something out, eventually it works its way around the system. We all end up paying for a higher exposure if we end up having larger, more expensive claims. That's how it works. Part of the way an insurance company decides on the premium is to look at the claims. If the claims were inflated, guess what's going to happen to the premiums when they come back next time? You can figure that one out. So Price gouging is a really big deal. And there are multiple agencies that are out there, and they're going after the landlords. They're going after the property managers. They're going after the realtors. They're going after everybody that's involved. And I think the most interesting part of this is that they're going after the property owners directly. Normally you'll say, well, okay, they're going after the person that listed the property because after all, they should have known better, blah, blah, blah. No, they're going after the actual landlords, the people that own the property, because at this point, I suppose they're going under the auspice that everybody knows that's not okay. Whether they know if it's illegal versus just immoral or just unethical, you like just, because, after all, that shouldn't be enough to stop you from doing the wrong thing. But either way, they are going after these people, and they're going after them aggressively. I get bulletins daily talking about the different task forces that are being formed. So if you think you signed a lease that sounds outrageous to you, reach out to the Department of Insurance first, insurance.ca.gov, look for some assistance, and help them guide you through what ramifications, what recourse you might be able to have. It's time for another quick break. We'll be right back. This is Insurance Hour, and I am Karl Susman. Stand by.
Have you been dropped by your insurance agency or seen your premiums skyrocket? Susman Insurance is here to help. We're a family-owned and operated insurance agency that's been serving our community for 2 generations. At Susman Insurance, we know how stressful it can be to find the right coverage, especially when prices go up or you're left without insurance. That's why we're committed to finding you competitive rates, whether it's for fire, home, earthquake, flood, auto insurance, you name it. We've got you covered. Give us a call or send a text to 310-820-5200 or visit us online at sussmaninsurance.com. Plus, stay updated on all things insurance by joining our text group. Just text 567-4-CARL with a K. That's 567-367-5275 to get the latest updates straight to your phone. Susman Insurance, your family's insurance solution.
Hello. This is Insurance Hour. I am your host, Karl Susman. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Our continued coverage regarding the California wildfires continues. Phone lines are not open right now. We're not live taking your calls, but please call, please text, please email, send us your questions. We will get to them on a future show, and I can answer you right away if you're interested. The phone number 559-656-0317. You can call or text that number, or send an email to questions@insurancehour.com. Now, before the break, we were talking a little bit about scams. We were talking about price gouging for people that are trying to find housing that have been displaced because of the fires. Now, as if that's not bad enough, how about this? There are also people that are out there that are giving you the too good to be true deals. So if you're out there and you're looking for a place to live because you've lost your home, you've lost everything, and all of a sudden someone says, oh, you know what? I've had this house empty for a long time. My parents used to live there, and they've since passed. I'm willing to give you a really good deal. I need to run your credit and do some things, but I need a deposit before I do any of that stuff. You're going to say, wow, that's a great price. You give them your money, and they just disappear. Literally, they might not have even been in this country. These are people that are making calls and making false promises, and they're giving off what I'm calling the too good to be true story and offer. Again, I get goosebumps. I get so angry to think that people that have lost everything and they are literally scrambling to try and find a place to live have to also be on the lookout for these unscrupulous people that are doing these things. It really upsets me. But it's happening. I've heard it from clients myself. So if you're getting that call, you're getting that text, you're answering that ad, whatever it might be, maybe it's on one of the social media apps that you're on and they say, oh, it turns out I've got this space empty. Yes, the social media apps as well. Some of those more hyper-local apps that you're familiar with that are just in your neighborhood, believe it or not, you don't actually have to be there to get on that app. There are some processes in place to try and weed that out. However, it's not an impossible thing to do. You can, with some IP tracking information changed and some other information that maybe they've stolen from somebody else, it's not impossible for people to get into what looks like your neighborhood app and and they could literally be across the country or in another country. So if you're seeing the too good to be true offer, Unfortunately, it might just be too good to be true. Good rule of thumb, before you're going to give anybody any money or sign any lease, put eyes on it. And no, I'm not talking about a picture online. If they're saying, I've got this house, say, great, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I want to go look at it. Don't let them say, oh, no, never mind. If you want to see it, I've got other people that are willing to just give me some money. Okay, see you later then. Bye-bye. I don't need that. Put eyes on it. Put your feet on the ground. Be sure it actually is there. Be sure they actually own it. Be sure that they have it to rent. Be sure they haven't rented it to 50 other people already. Okay? You have to be careful because people are out there and they're doing some really bad things. Speaking about other really bad things, be on the lookout for loan sharks. I know, I can't believe I actually have to say that, and I can't believe it's actually happening. But there are people out there. Now, let me just put a little asterisk in this. The concept of a loan shark is, of course, we see it in the movies. It's you borrow money, and if you don't pay it back, at first you're paying a really high interest rate, meaning you're paying a lot more money back than you borrowed. And if you don't make a payment, they break your knees. Okay, that's the short version of a loan shark, right? You want to make a movie? There's the whole movie for you, start to finish. Now, I'm not talking just specifically about that happening, but I'm talking about hard money lending. Now, hard money lending is not against the law. It's an actual business. It's out there. And what that entails is a private individual that's going to be, or it could be a group of people pooling their money together, that are going to use their money and they're going to loan their money to people or businesses, for example, and they're going to set their own interest rate. Now, there are regulations for this. There are guidelines that have to be followed. There are registrations that have to be done and things of that nature. You can't just wake up one day, yawn, and say, I'm going to start loaning out money at whatever interest rate I feel like. That doesn't work that way. You do have to go through and get some processes set up, but the interest rates are high. Very high. You could be looking at 10%, 12%, 15% interest on a loan that you need to buy food. That's not okay. It's not okay that you need that money to buy the food, of course, but you need to be careful because this is the real problem. The actual business itself of hard money lending, or lending money without collateral in this case, because your collateral is now in ashes if we're talking about a wildfire survivor, you're going to have nothing to back up the money you're borrowing but your signature. So the person that's loaning you that money has to say, well, that's a pretty big risk because your signature, last time I checked, it's not worth a lot. It's a signature. It's not something tangible. I can't go sell your signature. A signature is going to give me the ability to sue you, but if you don't have money, what good is that going to do me? So they're going to charge higher interest rates because their money that they're lending you is not secured by something that they could basically utilize to recoup their money in the event of a default. But what's worse than this is someone who claims to be in that business and isn't. Let's just pretend you're getting that text again. You see that ad, you see that notification in your local application, and it says, hey, you know what, I've got some money in my 401k, it's not really doing that well. If you need some money, maybe it's a bridge loan, they call it, or a gap loan, meaning you just need it till the insurance company pays you more, or you just need it for some reason right away. I'm willing to do it, and here's the interest rate. And of course, before they do anything, what do they want? Money. Well, I want to just run your credit to be sure that everything is okay. Mind you, these are legitimate things to do, but be careful because sometimes they'll run your credit or not and just disappear. They literally will just ghost you. I've had a client have this happen. They had an offer for a property. They said, let me run your credit. They took it. They never ran their credit because they have one of those credit monitoring systems. Actually, she told me she has her credit on freeze, and she had forgotten after she signed the application and gave the deposit. She gave a month deposit and paid for the credit check, paid the person to run her credit. She forgot to unfreeze her credit, so she knew it was never run. The person never responded, never talked to them again. Her money that 1 month was just gone, and the money she paid for the credit check that of course never happened was just gone. And I understand there might be there's some repercussions she might be able to chase after. How did she pay? Was it a credit card? Was it Zelle? Was it Venmo? What was it? But again, this is someone that's desperately trying to find a place to get a roof over their head. They're not looking to have to deal with this on top of it, have more money going out. Oh, it makes me so mad. Let's take another quick break. When we come back, I'm going to go down the list a little further, give you some more things to look out for. This is Insurance Hour. I am Karl Susman, your host. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in just a few moments, the Window to the Magic podcast show will begin.
My name is Patrick.
My name is Calvin.
I'm Mouseketeer Gray.
My name is Paul, and I will be your guide through the wonderful world of Disney sound experiences.
This show is a weekly trip into the world of the Disney theme parks and resorts.
And this is the place where you get to use your ears to surround yourself with the magic.
For your safety, please remain seated while listening to the windowtothemagic.com podcast.
Maybe there's a name for this, something like Disnotic obsession. Please visit windowtothemagic.com for more information, or you can find us on Apple Podcasts and in the iHeart Media app.
Hello. This is Insurance Hour. I am your host, Karl Susman. Thank you so much for being here today. We are talking about the California wildfires. The phone lines are not open, but we can still call, leave a message, send a text. We will get back to you as soon as we get back to our regular schedule. That phone number is 559-656-0317. You can call or text that number and send an email with your question to questions@insurancehour.com. Before I go any further, I want to make one quick point. I do the best that I can to be sure that I'm giving you the most up-to-date and accurate information that I can. But, and I know this will come as an absolute shock to you, I'm not perfect. I can make a mistake. I don't have all of the information perfect all the time. Nobody can. If you hear something on this program and you're thinking, I've heard something different. I'm not sure that just doesn't make sense to me. Let me know. Call me. Text me, email me. I want to find out what the right answer is so that I can let everybody else know what the right answer is. I'm not going to be insulted. I would rather have the correct information. I would rather be able to give it to everybody else than to stand up and just say, what I say is just the right answer no matter what. It can't be. I'm only human. So again, if you hear something, let me know if it doesn't ring true and let me do some research and find out. And again, I appreciate the fact that we're in this together. The idea is to get the right information out, not just the information that Karl happens to have at the moment. Now, let's get on and talk some more about other scams that we are seeing right now. Another one has to do with just good old-fashioned theft. A lot of people might not have actually lost the entire home that they had, but they can't be there right now. There's unbelievable smoke damage. There's damage, I call it air damage, because it's not just smoke, it's damage to the air in their house. You can't even be in there. Trust me, I've been with some and tried. It smells putrid. It smells like a combination of burnt fuel, ozone, trees, and acid. Try and imagine that combination, because that's roughly what it smells like. Some people will still try and get to those homes. Obviously, no one is living there right now. And steal. They are breaking into these homes and they are stealing what is still in them. There's got to be a special hell for someone that does this, but it's happening. Now, fortunately, the government has the Army and the National Guard. There are people that are there. The police are doing the best they can to close off these areas to keep people from looting. Looting is just a fancy word for a lot of people stealing, right? I think that there's not much you can personally do because you're not going to sit in front of the house. You're not going to pay a security company